It came from. It came from.
Let's get on to this next one here. Thank you, Voldemort, for that question. This next one, what made you decide to take up HCI? This is from the the HCI subreddit, but we'll go ahead and apply it towards human factors. This is from Advanced Page. They go on to write, I'm just curious on how you end up taking up HCI or human factors in this case. What inspired you or motivated you to take this path? Blake.
Here we go. This will be fun.
Origin story.
Yeah, we'll make clips out of this, I'm sure. So just a little background of myself, and I feel confident that I can say this now because it's been so many years. So I am a failed aerospace engineer. Like, that was my background. That's what I went to school for originally. Like, that was what I was going to do. I was going to go work on planes at Boeing. And in some ways, I got really bored with some of the engineering classes. I just wasn't interested in stuff that wasn't application based. So I fell into psychology. Funny enough, through somebody who I actually have worked with recently. He used to be a professor at Auburn, where I went and got my undergrad. But so I was on the track to go get a PhD in animal learning science. Luckily, my advisor at that point, she looked at me and said, I know what you were doing before this. You have a passion for how things work and machines and computers. Like, I really don't think you're going to be happy doing animal learning psychology with me, even though you're, one of my proteges or whatever. And she recommended this thing I had never heard of. That happened to be human factors. And so I looked into it because I didn't know what it was. It wasn't like now where I have friends that have, bachelor's degree in HF. But when I looked into it, the program that I ended up finding and getting inspired by was California State University Long Beach's program, which had a very deep connection with aerospace, specifically NASA. So that blended a bunch of passions together. Like, now I was bringing psychology, engineering, and aviation all into one place where I could learn how to make stuff better for people, like whether it's pilots, people learning to fly, whatever. And in my case, it was ATCs and doing other flight deck design stuff. But it was just an awesome blend of all the things that I by happenstance had fallen in love with as I went through school. And so human factors was just a great way for me to kind of find a career, I guess is the best way to put it. But definitely came upon it by accident completely. Yeah, that's kind of how I got here. How about you, Nick?
That's Blake's origin story. Mine is actually surprisingly similar to yours. And it's funny that the best mentors are the ones that steer you in the direction, even though it's kind of against your will. So, or not necessarily against your will. Anyway, but my point is, my origin story is kind of like this. It's almost like a failed social psych student, where I was in social psych and I couldn't really find, I still love social psych. I couldn't really find a niche that I enjoyed in it. And so, except for messaging, I really enjoy messaging, which is why it's important. I worked in a social psych. Yeah, I worked in a social psych lab. And it was getting to be that time where I was looking at grad schools and I was like, geez, I don't feel like I have that passion for a lot of these. I'm just looking for that higher education because it's the next step. And, I even applied to the program that I was at in my undergrad with my mentor, and he basically said, no, I'm not accepting you. And I was obviously very hurt by this. And, he said, I want to have a meeting with you to explain why. And so, he explained why, which was, look, our interests are not compatible and I want you to fly. I don't want to hold you back by you doing things that are just for me in my lab. I want you to do things that you enjoy. And there was a professor here, this is his words, there was a professor here a year ago that was very much in line with your interests, and he moved to another school. And so I looked at that professor. Sure enough, he was a psych professor, but it was in a human factors program up there. And so I got the human factors curriculum working with that professor. He ended up being one of the best mentors I've ever had in my life, and, would recommend him to anybody. And kind of, it was the professor that led me to the human factors program. Or I guess it was the professor that led me to the interest that led me to the human factors program. is all on accident. It just so happened that the professor that I wanted was in the human factors program. And so I fell in love with the coursework while I was in it, and everything just felt right. And so that's my origin story right there. It just kind of happened, right? It seems like that's a common case, is that a lot of people just fall into human factors.
Yeah, I wonder how common it'll become, because like now that there are a lot of programs out there that have, bachelor's degrees in it, and it is related to either engineering or psychology. So I hope a lot more people find it, but it is funny that we both kind of just stumbled into it.